Hi, Mohammed here. After a brief intro to RDBMS and SQL, let's move on to Chapter 2, which is installation of SQL Server. The good news is it's all free. All you need to do is go to a web browser and open the web page to download. Before we download the SQL Server, let's have a quick look at the hardware requirements. On this page, this is SQL Server 2022 hardware and software requirements. You would need a minimum of 6 GB of hard disk space and 64-bit system. Please bear in mind it won't install on a 32-bit system. To check the operating system, right-click the Windows button and click System. On here, you can see this is 64-bit system. If your machine meets the basic criteria, let's move on to the next step. Open a web browser and type this address, or simply you can search SQL Server 2022 download and you will end up on this page. At the time of recording of this video, this is the latest version and Microsoft's downloads page looks like this. It might change a little in the future, and if that's the case, don't worry. You can simply type Microsoft SQL Server download in any of the search engines and it will lead you to the downloads page. You can see that there are 3 options to choose from. If you are interested to know what these are, I will explain that in a minute. But for now, scroll the page down a bit and click on Developer Download Now button. It will download the installation file that usually stores in your downloads folder. This is a small file that initializes the installation process, but the actual installation file will download and install in the next steps. Click the download file. Head to your downloads area. Double click it. There are 3 options. First one is basic. It is the standard default configuration. Second one is custom, where you can actually choose what you want to install. And the third option is download media. This option gives you the choice whether to run on this machine or any other machine. If you want to do database administration and only wants to retrieve data from a database, then basic option is just fine. However, if you want to do more in SQL Server, such as SSRS, that is SQL Server Reporting Services, SSIS, SQL Server Integration Services, SSAS, SQL Server Analysis Services, then don't select the basic option. The custom option is suitable for you as it gives the choice what to install. If you want to install the SQL Server on a different machine, in that case, you can download the media and install later on a machine of your choice. For this course, I'm going to do custom install. Please click on the custom option and it will take you to the next screen. Click install. It will acquire setup files. Look at the size of these files. It is almost 1 GB or gigabyte. It will take a while to download depending on your internet connection. So let's click install. I think it is a suitable time to briefly look at the available options on the web page. The first option from the left side is SQL Server on Azure. The literal meaning of Azure is blue sky, as clouds are in the sky. Microsoft borrowed this word to use for its cloud services. In simple terms, SQL Server database in the cloud is called Microsoft Azure. There is a cost to use this service, which depends upon several factors. The second option is SQL Server at the edge. This is like Microsoft Azure with a different purpose with AI. Again, this is a paid version, obviously. The third option is SQL Server on premises. This is paid version of SQL Server, which is kept usually in a server room that can be in the same building or at a remote location. At the middle of the page, there are two options, Developer and Express. Both of these are free versions. We are downloading Developer Edition today for this course. Express Edition is perfectly fine for the development and production of SQL databases, but it comes with a limited functionality. Development environment is where developers develop and test the functionality of the databases when these databases are finalized. These are moved to the production environment. The users access the data from production environment. If you are a student and haven't worked in a professional environment, I can try to explain with an example. When a car is manufactured, it is tested for safety and other stuff like the brakes, seat belts, and the engine, etc. Although the car is ready to be driven, it is on a test drive and being tested. It is called development environment. When it has passed all the necessary checks, it is sent to the car showroom for sale. At that point, a driver can drive the car on roads. This stage is called production environment. On the other hand, the full-featured edition is Developer Edition, but it only licensed for the development environment. You can do all the development but cannot move it over to the production or live environment. For that, you would need to install the paid version of SQL Server. But for our course today, Developer Edition is suitable as I intend to use this version for SSRS, SSIS, and SSAS. If you are interested to learn this, you can check out those courses on my YouTube channel. I don't want to give an information overload, but for those who want to know more, please check out this web page. You can access the link from the description of this course. There are several editions of SQL Server. The first one is Enterprise, then there is Standard, Web, Developer, and Express Edition. The first three are paid editions: Enterprise, Standard, and Web. Enterprise is the premium high-end edition with the highest price tag. The Standard version offers basic functionality, suitable for small businesses with small price tag. The Web Edition is also for small to large organizations. Look, the Developer Edition has all the functionality of the Enterprise Edition. If you are wondering why people pay for the Enterprise Edition, it is due to the license agreement. The Enterprise Edition is licensed for production, whereas Developer is not licensed for production. It is like a car company manufactures a great car but not allowed to drive it on the roads. As I said before, Developer Edition is great for the development and testing. And finally, the Express Edition, an entry-level edition which is great for learning, but it comes with limited capabilities. Let's go back and see if the download has finished. Yes, it has. The first option selected by default is planning, and there is a lot of information on this page. We don't need to go into detail. We can just focus on the installation for now. Let's maximize this first. Installation tab. The first option on this tab is New SQL Server Standalone Installation or Add Features to an Existing Installation. Let's click this. So there are three options on the drop-down list. The first one is Evaluation, which is paid edition with 180 days or 6 months trial. Then there is Developer and Express editions. We are interested in the Developer edition. So click Developer and click Next. The next screen is regarding license agreement. It is a standard practice to agree to all terms and conditions by checking the box. Click this and click Next. Check the updates. So yeah, recommended, and click next. Everything is fine on this page apart from Windows firewall warning, this one. Don't worry about it and click next. This screen is regarding Azure extension for SQL Server. As we are not connecting our SQL Server to cloud, this is irrelevant for us. Simply uncheck Azure extension for SQL Server and click next. It brings us to Feature Selection tab. Only option we need to check is Database Engine Services. If you remember, I mentioned additional services called SSAS, SSRS, and SSIS. Two of them are listed here. Either we can select these now or we can leave for now and can install these later on. The choice is yours. We need Database Engine Services anyway. Let's choose to install SSIS and SSAS by clicking these options. Click the Database Engine Services, then Analysis Services, and Integration Services. If you want to learn more about SSIS, SSRS, and SSAS, please visit my YouTube channel. Reporting services can be downloaded separately by clicking this link. When we click this link, it will take us to our web page where we can download reporting services. Another important thing to consider is the installation location. The default location for any installation is the C drive on your machine, but you can change to a different drive if you wish to. We can simply click next and wait for the next screen. Would take us to the Instance Configuration tab. You can choose either default instance or named instance. If it is first installation, you can choose default instance. But if you have already installed SQL Server on your machine, then you will have to select named instance and give it a meaningful name. So because this is our first installation, we are leaving default instance and click next. The next tab or screen will be server configuration. Let's wait for it. We don't need to do anything here and simply click next. This tab is very important. There are two important things we need to consider. First one is authentication method. If we choose Windows authentication, we will automatically be logged onto SQL Server when we log on to SQL Server on your machine. It's your choice how you want to log in to your server, either by login and password or a PIN. After you are logged on to your machine, you don't need additional login and password to use SQL Server. In case you want additional security, you can go for the mixed mode, where your login will be SA, which is short name for System Administrator. And you can choose a password of your choice. I'm choosing Windows Authentication. The second important thing is you should add your account as an administrator of SQL Server. Click on Add Current User button and it will be added as an administrator. Why we do this? Well, to ensure that administrator have all the power to manage the SQL Server. Time to click next and move on to the next tab. This is the SSAS configuration tab. It gives us two options to pick one, tabular or multi-dimensional model, which works with the cubes as the name suggests. Pick one which is relevant to you and add current user. So I'm going to click add user and I'm going to leave multi-dimensional mode and I'm going to click next. Finally, it is ready to install. Go ahead and click install, as we did. Now you can sit back and relax or move away from your seat for a bit if you wish to. Otherwise, you can sit and watch the green bar to slowly moving to the right. I'm turning the recording off and turning it back on when it is done. See you in a while. Great news, looks like it is installed successfully. Please don't go anywhere, as we have installed the back end of the SQL Server and going to install the front end next. Front end is the window in which you type your commands and execute to see the results. Close this window by clicking the close button. From the SQL Server Installation Center window that is already opened on your screen, click Install SQL Server Management Tools. This opens up Microsoft web page. Download the latest version by clicking the link on the web page. Here it is. I would suggest not to install a preview version, as it is not a stable version, so avoid that. As you can see on the screen, it suggests that you uninstall the preview version before installing GA version. So we click the link and wait for the file to download. This is only a few seconds away. So that's the file. We run this one and wait for it to fire up. As you can read on the screen, it says Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio with Azure Data Studio. Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio is used for configuring and administering all components within Microsoft SQL Server, whereas Azure Data Studio is a cross-platform data management tool used to manage SQL Server, Azure SQL Database, and Azure Synapse SQL pools. In the latest versions, Microsoft has bundled the two together. Click Install. After the installation is completed, we just need to close this window. Let's wait for it to complete. In case you see this message, you will have to restart your machine. After restarting our machine, click Install. Great news, we have successfully installed the SQL Server backend and the front end. Let's close this window. To test if it is installed correctly, we can search SSMS in the Start menu and click on this icon here, this one. You can see the connection window. If it is a default instance, then enter a dot from your keyboard or type localhost. So we are going to type localhost. In case you have more than one instance of SQL Server installed, click on drop down and click Browse on here and expand Database Engine by clicking the plus sign. All of the installed instances will be listed here. As we have only one instance of SQL Server, you can only see the default instance. One more thing, look at the authentication. If you remember, we chose Windows authentication option during the installation. Here it is. Now you can click Connect. As you can see, this is our SQL Server Management Studio front end. Here are our databases. As we haven't created any database yet, that's why this is empty. If you wish to look at the Azure Data Studio, follow the same steps. search for Azure Data Studio from your Start menu and click on the icon Azure Data Studio, this one. And this window will open up in a second. Click on new connection, and on here either you can enter dot from your keyboard or you can type the localhost the way we did before. Have a look at the authentication. So it has to be Windows authentication, same as we configured in our installation. Go ahead and click connect. Click that message. We are now connected and we can create a new query by start typing our first SQL statement. If you are interested to know how to use SSRS, SSIS and SSAS, you would need to install another program called Microsoft Visual Studio. If you want to learn how to install Visual Studio and how to use SSRS, SSIS and SSAS, you can find the training courses on my YouTube channel. Thanks for watching and learning. In the next chapter, we will cover how to connect to SQL Server. See you in the next video.